I'm WG and it's time we talk about probably the strongest burst character in the entire game with the right setup, MEI. Now where does that come from? This whole MEI burst concept seems to have appeared somewhere on any Discord or even on the Reddit, maybe even by Mr. Nuclear Pluto here. And then you might have already seen this as well by Oreo Pancakes, the 30k damage in one turn. And yeah, you can really see that MEI is doing something. Now how do you get there? How can you yourself get similar results? First off, we have to talk about MEI, and MEI is all about basic attacks and all about a lot of attacks. There's two key skills to this whole shenanigan, and that is number one, the unity of attack and defense, and number two, the rising dragon spire. First off, the main engine is this Epiphany right here that allows you to move two basic cards to your hand, reducing the cost by 1 for 1 turn. Moving meaning you can get it from the graveyard, you could get it from the draw pile, you could even get it from the played cards. This is important, this moving tag, whereas the others would only allow you to draw it, so you would only be really able to either draw it out of the graveyard or out of the draw pool, meaning that in certain scenarios you won't be able to get these basic attacks again. And then you technically could be able to work around with the create 2 strike cards at cost -1, but it really is mainly the unity attack and defense with the move tag that gets this whole thing rolling. So you have one passion card that creates 2 passion cards that you can then all play for the cost of 0. What you then also want to do is you want to remove the Flame Dragon Guardian from MEI. By removing the Flame Dragon Guardian, you're guaranteed to only get strikes due to getting 2 basic attack cards, and those will be your only 2 left. So all of a sudden you play a card for 0, you can play 2 strikes for 0, and then we have the Rising Dragon Spire. The Rising Dragon Spire itself at standard works with the combo effect, meaning that if you use a card of the same attribute before this, it also gets an extra hit. But the main potential is at the very far right. 150% base damage plus 1 hit for each passion card used for 1 turn. So what that means is that with every single use of the unity of attack and defense, you get 3 extra hits, 3 extra stacks for this Rising Dragon Spire. That then gives you the opportunity to potentially clone, to replicate the unity of attack and defense. So let's say you have 4 copies in it, and then you play out all of them. All of a sudden it's already at 12. Then you also right here have the fact that you get attack card damage, so your strikes will deal even more damage. Same with the Rising Dragon Spire. And when you use an attack card, you also apply Passion Weakness. Passion Weakness meaning you'll also be effective against the enemy to top it all off. And then also, should you be using the Spirit of the Aromata before, it would then allow you to, for example, upon using a passion card, get extra damage for 1 turn, or any of these other variants which aren't nearly as important but still very, very useful in pushing that damage even higher, in increasing the base damage of said Rising Dragon Spire. Just quickly for potential, you mainly want to get this basic card proficiency, which allows you to stack Embers. Embers being a debuff applied to an enemy that when you hit or defeat a target in a breakthrough state, you increase the damage dealt based on the Ember stack, and then the Embers get removed upon activation, which then also multiple times triggers should you attack with a lot of basic attacks or with the multi-hitters. And then if you get to level 50, you can also get this one right here, plus 5% to MEI strike damage, and should her attack be above 500, you get an additional 5%, further boosting the strike damage, as well as this as well here, the basic card damage proficiency, which would further boost the strike damage, or even the unique card proficiency, further boosting the Dragon Spire's damage. One other thing that's also important is the fact that you can combine this with the ultimate to give an additional hit to the next 4 basic attack cards, which is just further going to increase that damage of the punch. For this combo, you obviously don't need any of her awakenings, though they are going to help you, but none of them are actually anything that is required. Gear wise, you'll mainly be looking for a 2-piece Blackwing for the attack percent, a 2-piece Seth Scarab for the increased damage of the strikes by 20% to boost them even further, and then the Executioner's tools for increased crit damage should you go in the crit direction. But what is also possible is for you to use the Spark of Passion set, which would allow you to, upon using a upgrade card, have increased passion damage for the next cards used. Though keep in mind this is a little bit more temporary due to you using a whole bunch of cards. Main stat wise, the attack percent at the bottom one is pretty much fixed. In the middle you have the choice between attack percent or passion damage. Both of them work equally as well, and then depending on if you are leaning in towards the crit damage set, you want to go with the crit chance main stat, and if not, you can just go with the attack percent main stat for that piece. Now that you kind of have the baseline, let's talk a little bit about like the top end, the combinations that you can up. Now that you have the basics, the most important thing that you should keep in mind is if you are going for this, you want the unity of attack and defense, and preferably the move own 2 basic cards to hand. And then if you do get that, you can also be on the lookout for increased godly epiphanies, like the ability to draw 1 upon playing this card, like the ability to regenerate 1 AP should you be playing this, and obviously whenever you have the chance to copy or replicate this card, it is of utmost priority. Now a lot of you are always curious, okay, but what about 5-star synergies? Look no further than Veronica. So Veronica is pretty much just going to be there. She is a further passion unit. Also, any of her cards used further count towards the hit count of the Rising Dragon Spire. And there is some pretty funny shenanigans. For Defying Preparation, you can be pretty liberal about it. None of these upgrades truly make too much of a difference in regards to the Rising Dragon Spire gameplay loop. And then we get into, for example, Repose. Repose gives you a shield and also allows you to draw cards from other combatants, which can help you deck search for these specific LIN cards that you need to pull off that combo, like duplicated offense and defense, or the Rising Dragon Spire to finish the enemy off, or maybe even the Retain card for extra damage upon card usage. Then Epiphany wise, you obviously have a no-brainer in the reduction to 0 cost, or this one, which still just gives you more shield while staying at the same draw 2 other combatants cards. Here you could further reduce the card of whatever you pull, like for example again Rising Dragon Spire, and these ones aren't as helpful in with that like deck search aspect. Keep in mind again, any of these can have further godly epiphanies, anywhere from cost reduction to more cards to more AP to other shenanigans you can't even think of. And then we get to the Pendant of Resolution, and the Pendant of Resolution has a very interesting upgrade, and that is the Retain/Retrieve 4 card. So what you can do with this Pendant of Resolution is, if you find a godly epiphany that for whatever reason reduces the cost of this by 1, then all of a sudden, or even multiple copies of this, all of a sudden, or if you find more AP through other ways, but what you can do is you can play this card 5 times in a row. You can play this card 5 times in a row. You can keep this card in your hand up until the moment you need it, and then play this card 5 times in a row to further play up to 5 additional passion cards with the extra damage and the extra hits and any other shenanigans you can come up with. Whereas then you also obviously have the ability to further increase the reload, create mini ballistas, or when you use a skill card, gain more reload, which is mainly... But yeah, these other epiphanies mainly provide you reload, further boosting the ballista damage that you passively put out at the end of every turn through Veronica. And then you have Sir Kowalski, which is another tool to deck search. At the base version, you can draw 1, you can find epiphanies to draw you 2 exactly twice. You can then again have like AP, cost reduction, draw on these cards as well to further increase the power of these cards. It really depends on kind of how the gods of fate rely or look on you. And then technically you also have the ultimate. And then, as you could have guessed, right, I mean, first off, right, you can remove again the rapid fire or the illusion of the golden daffodils to just again thin the deck, increase your chances of pulling these cards to then further pull into LIN cards. And then the kind of unit that is at the center of everything, will once again be Mika. Mika allowing you to either create these sources of water, especially if you get her to the point that she applies retain to them, so you can kind of like pre-prepare to, yeah, you could say emergency AP. But then you, yeah, what you're mainly going to be looking for is obviously either the sources of water with the extra AP and then the extra HP plus wave, or even here extra wave, more wave. Overall, every third wave just means 1 extra AP. Out of these, either the ones with the 2 waves are definitely better than the upgrade card, because you can only play the upgrade card once. And then here your goal again is also be looking forward or on the lookout for those godly epiphanies to draw yourself more, get more AP, somehow shuffle gear bags or even rallies into this Mika deck to allow you to just cycle through a deck faster and better, to really find these unities of attacks and defense to then really get the ball rolling and get into some incredible damage turns. And yeah, when you want to know what you should remove from a Mika, I would always recommend getting rid of Water Arrow, and my personal favorite, getting rid of Whirlpool. Whirlpool really, it doesn't do enough damage to the point that it really doesn't heal you. You're better off just using maybe like even a basic card to heal you. And the only, I guess, half decent epiphany, unless we're talking maybe like a godly epiphany with extra HP and whatnot, might just be this one, which can at least, once you face 3 or more enemies, pay for itself, which at least is a little something, right? But yeah, there is truly some silly shenanigans you can come up with a Mika, but it is mainly Gearback and Rally that kinda always tend to find their way in here, and then depending on what you can get from the Godly Epiphany side of things, or even extra HP, extra AP on the Gearback, which is just a standard Epiphany rather than even being a godly one, it can just, yeah, it can truly take you far. Set choice for Mika is pretty much going to be the damage, healing, and shield of basic attack cards, extra max HP so you can take more hits, and then the extra defense so that she heals more. Whereas stat wise, you could be looking for something like defense percentage. Here in the middle, obviously HP percentage would be for the best, just so you're more tanky. This is just so I can complete the set. And then at the top, obviously instead of attack percent, I mean the top one is a bit of a special piece. I guess you would probably go for attack percent, but your main source would be either to complete a set or be looking for like defense percentage substats. And then just in case, for Veronica, you're also kind of in a similar place where you could, for example, be looking for a crit rate main stat piece, or you go for full attack and then it's either the 2-piece attack percent set, or you could go that extra mile and kind of look for the passion set, though the passion set truly isn't the most effective on on Veronica herself. So yeah, that's kind of it. I hope you were able to take something away from this. I hope it is fine that I yet haven't been able to properly pull both LIN and Veronica on an account to actually show this off to you. And as always, shout out to the big smart people that thought of this combo first. Peace!